Jessica Marie Lunsford, October 6, 1995, February 27, 2005, was an American 9-year-old girl from Homosassa, Florida, who was murdered in February 2005. Lunsford was abducted from her home in the early morning of February 24, 2005, by John Cooey, a 46-year-old convicted sex offender who lived nearby. Cooey held her captive over the weekend, during which she was raped and later murdered by being buried alive. The media extensively covered the investigation and trial of Cooey. Jessica Lunsford's murder became a cause célèbre that influenced the introduction of legislation in Florida known as Jessica's Law, designed to protect potential victims and reduce a sexual offender's ability to reoffend, which has since influenced similar legislation in 42 other states. On August 24, 2007, a judge in Inverness convicted Cooey for the kidnapping, sexual battery, and first-degree murder of Lunsford, and sentenced him to death. However, Cooey died of natural causes in 2009, before his sentence could be carried out. Investigation: 9-year-old Jessica Lunsford disappeared in the night on February 24, 2005, from her home in Homosassa, Florida. After approximately 3 weeks of intense searching for her around the area of her home, John Evander Cooey was arrested in Savannah, Georgia, for an outstanding warrant of cannabis possession, but was released after questioning because it was only a local warrant. Cooey was a 46-year-old longtime resident of Homosassa with an extensive criminal record, listing dozens of arrests for burglary, and was a convicted child sex offender. Due to the laws at the time, Cooey received only short sentences and was not monitored after release, despite his record of being an experienced trespasser and his repeated sexual offenses against children. On March 12, Cooey was arrested in Augusta, Georgia, at the request of the Citrus County Sheriff's Office, for questioning about Jessica Lunsford's disappearance due to his residence on West Snowbird Court in Homosassa, only 65 yards from the Lunsford's home, and his criminal record. Cooey stated he did not have anything to do with the 9-year-old's disappearance and had moved to Georgia to find a job, only knowing about it from the television news. He was released from police custody after being interviewed. On March 14, Cooey's half-sister Dorothy Dixon gave permission to police to search her trailer at West Snowbird Court in Homosassa. Cooey had lived at the West Snowbird Court residence with Dixon, her boyfriend Matt Dittridge, her daughter and son-in-law, Ma Dye and Jean Sackard, and her 2-year-old grandson, Joshua. During the search, a blood-stained mattress and pillows were found in Cooey's closet in his room, and forensic analysis discovered both Cooey's and Lunsford's DNA on the mattress. On March 17, Cooey was arrested and charged with the murder of Jessica Lunsford, and transported to the Citrus County Jail in Florida. Cooey's confession. On March 18, 2005, Cooey made an audio-recorded and videotaped confession to having kidnapped, raped and murdered Lunsford. In his confession, Cooey said that he had previously seen Lunsford playing in her yard and thought she was about 6 years old. On the night of the abduction, Cooey had intended to just burglarize the Lunsford's home, but saw Jessica and acted on impulse, and he took her. He entered Lunsford's house at about 3 o'clock in the morning through an unlocked door, awakened Lunsford, told her, "Don't yell or nothing," and told her to follow him out of the house. He occupied the trailer along with 2 women, some 100 yards, 91 meters away, at the time of Lunsford's abduction. Cooey admitted to raping Lunsford in his bedroom, keeping her in his bed that evening, where he raped her again in the morning. Cooey put her in his closet and ordered her to remain there, which she did as he reported for work at Billy's truck lot. 3 days after he abducted her, Cooey tricked Jessica into getting into 2 garbage bags by saying he was going to take her home. He instead buried her alive as he decided he could do nothing else with the girl. He said he didn't want people seeing him and Lunsford across the street. Discovery of Lunsford's body. On March 19, Police found 9-year-old Jessica Lunsford's body at the residence on West Snowbird Court in Homosassa, buried in a plastic bag in a hole approximately 2.5 deep and 2 circular, covered with leaves. Lunsford's body was removed from the ground and transported to the coroner's office, where it was recorded to have undergone moderate to severe decomposition. According to the publicly released autopsy reports, Lunsford had poked 2 fingers through the bags before suffocating to death, and the fingers had skeletonized. The coroner ruled that death would have happened even in best circumstances within 2 to 3 minutes from lack of oxygen. After the discovery of Lunsford's body at the residence, Dixon stated that a week earlier she had given Cooey money for a bus ticket, and that he had telephoned her to say he had moved to Savannah, Georgia. Additionally, Dixon and the other residents of the trailer claimed to have never seen Lunsford at the home or noticed anything strange from Cooey's room, which had not been used since he was last there. On June 30, 2006, a judge ruled that Cooey's confession was inadmissible in court because when it was recorded, police had not granted Cooey's requests for a lawyer, thereby rendering the confession invalid and unreliable under the Fifth and Sixth Amendments of the United States Constitution. Over Cooey's objection, the trial court ruled that all evidence collected after the confession, including the recovery of Lunsford's body, would be admitted, as with incriminating statements allegedly made by Cooey to investigators and a jail guard. Conviction. Criminal proceedings. The trial was moved to Miami after officials were unable to seat an impartial jury in Citrus County, where the trial was first scheduled to be held. On March 7, 2007, Cooey was found guilty of all charges in relation to Lunsford's death, including first-degree murder, kidnapping, burglary with assault or battery upon any person, and capital sexual battery. The jury deliberated for 4 hours, tasked with recommending either life in prison without the possibility of parole or the death penalty, the only 2 possible sentences available under Florida law. A week later, after about 1 hour and 15 minutes of deliberation, a jury recommended Cooey be put to death. The case was appealed to the Florida Supreme Court. On August 11, 2007, a jury overseeing the 9-year-old Jessica Lunsford case voted 10-2 that Cooey be eligible for the death sentence. Defense for Cooey argued that he had suffered from a lifetime of emotional abuse and had a below-normal IQ, which would enable him to avoid a death sentence under a 2002 Supreme Court ruling prohibiting the execution of mentally handicapped people. However, the most credible intelligence test rated Cooey's IQ at 78, above the standard accepted level of mental retardation, which is 70. On August 24, 2007, Cooey was sentenced to death, in addition to 3 consecutive life sentences. However, on September 30, 2009, before the sentences could be carried out, Cooey died of natural causes. Aftermath. Jessica Lunsford Act. Following her death, her father, Mark Lunsford, pursued new legislation to provide more stringent tracking of released sex offenders. The Jessica Lunsford Act was named after her. It requires tighter restrictions on sex offenders, such as wearing electronic tracking devices and increased prison sentences for some convicted sex offenders. Jessica's law refers to similar reform acts initiated by other states. Wrongful death and negligence lawsuit. On February 19, 2008, almost 3 years to the day after her kidnapping and murder, Jessica's father was represented by Jacksonville, Florida lawyers in a pretrial brief filed against the Citrus County Sheriff's Office and the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. After receiving notice of the pending suit, Citrus County Sheriff Jeff Dossey stated that he believed the case to be baseless. There is only one person in the world that should be held responsible for Jessica Lunsford's death, and that's John Cooey. Following complaints and suggestions from Citrus County residents that the pending litigation was being pursued out of greed and that had he been a better father his child may still be alive, Mark Lunsford and Jacksonville-based attorneys Eric Block and Mark Gelman held a news conference in Jacksonville, where it was stated that the pending litigation was not for the money, but for change. Lunsford stated that changes were needed in procedures and policies. It is alleged that Cooey had Jessica Lunsford alive in the trailer while Citrus County officials visited the trailer, that police dogs indicated Jessica was being held in the direction of the trailer and were ignored, that Citrus County officials actively pursued Mark Lunsford's father as their prime suspect while evidence pointed elsewhere, and that had Citrus County officials followed up on an outstanding warrant issued by Georgia, that Citrus County officials could have entered Cooey's residence and possibly saved the child. Other media. Mark Lunsford becoming an activist for children's rights after the murder of his daughter Jessica is the subject of the 2011 documentary film, Jesse's Dad. The abduction of Jessica Lunsford was covered in 2013 on the TV series FBI, Criminal Pursuit in the episode, Lurking Menace. References. External links: Court TV coverage of Jessica Lunsford case. Court TV coverage of Jessica Lunsford case. Archived article in Court TV'(S) Crime Library Case No. SC07-1636. Applebee's answer brief. Cooey trial states arguments.